Tony Dick noticed that I'd been to the theatre and decided to advance a rather compelling and rather entertaining scenario comparing the Channel migrants with people who have not bought a ticket to see a particular show. Now, I'm old enough to remember people papering the house in the Royal Opera House when there weren't enough tickets bought, and people would just go into the streets and say, would you like to come and see a show? So that the theatre didn't look completely empty. But that's beside the point. The assumption that Tony makes is that I am in favour of open borders, which isn't true. And I'm sorry if I've given that impression. I'm not. I'm in favour of keeping our international agreements, and the 1951 Refugee Convention makes it very clear that it doesn't matter how somebody gets to our shores, as long as they claim asylum once they're on our shores, we must process them. Because of the hostile environment that Theresa May set up many years ago, I think nearly 15 years ago, we have had a go slow in the Home Office. The Home Office has been indolent and useless, and it hasn't done its job. Hence, we have a backlog. And a backlog is, of course, a medieval term for the piece of hardwood which keeps burning during the night once you put a curfew over it. And it is the bedrock, the foundation of the fireplace, of the hearth, of the family hearth, which by law, under medieval law, was expected to be burning day and night. And if it didn't burn, you were in trouble. Your community was in danger because your house could then breed illness. A mistake, of course, a misunderstanding, but that was the nature of the law. And the nature of the law here, we may say, is a mistake, is a misunderstanding, but it is nevertheless the law. And to produce some local, national law which defies international law is an absurdity. And Suella Braverman, as a former lawyer, should know that she is being a twit. She is tying our country up in legal knots for the next decade, at least, probably for longer. View Rwanda as a theatre foyer, okay. I don't know why Rwanda. Surely there must be somewhere closer and more convenient. It's not about being convenient or being closer. It's about being vicious. And the Rwanda programme, I'm afraid, is not going to reduce the number of migrants on our shores, because under the Rwanda programme, for every migrant that they take, we can take one of theirs. So we are effectively taking Hutu refugees, those people that Paul Kagame does not want in his country. We are contributing to his efforts at ethnic cleansing. He's already involved in military activity in the Congo against former people from his country, from Rwanda, who have fled to the Congo. And this is M23, the mercenary brigade, which has been backed up by his own Rwanda army. This is a man who's been involved in political assassinations, who has kidnapped people in other countries and brought them back to his country for trial and political detention, even if they eventually merit a presidential pardon and exile for the rest of their life. We have undertaken, through Suella Braverman and Priti Patel's obnoxious scheme, to be party to this sort of international abuse. So not only to defy the International Convention about refugees, but also to get into bed with Paul Kagame and be party to his attempts to further the attack on people who are formerly from Rwanda and people who have gone to Rwanda looking for refuge. Goodness knows why. Rwanda is not a safe country. And when Paul Kagame's reign finishes, Paul Kagame, you've got to remember, of course, was he himself was a member of a thuggish brigade. He was a rebel commander for the Rwandan Patriotic Front, the RPF, which invaded Rwanda in 1990. Be in no doubt about who this man, Paul Kagame, is, with whom Suella Braverman is on such friendly terms, and whose ministers she has helped, and money has changed hands. This is an economic program. And in any other country, I suppose, the word bribe might even be mentioned, but God forbid that it should be mentioned here. God forbid. I think this is foul and objectionable and wrong, morally wrong. Our approach to migration, because there is a migration problem in Britain and across the world, and it's only going to get worse, our approach should be to call an international conference and sort this out and reform the 1951 Refugee Convention, because it isn't working any longer. France doesn't think it's working. Poland definitely doesn't think it's working. Hungary doesn't think it's working. The Netherlands doesn't think it's working. And we don't think it's working. There's enough people who would be only too happy, enough countries only too happy to participate in an international conference. It's got nothing to do with the price of tickets in a theatre. But I am entertained. And that is my motivation. I'm not an open borders fan. I'm a fan of keeping our word and of trying to conduct our international responsibilities with kindness and with fairness. Those are the values that I think are part of my nation, and they're the values that we should be projecting to the rest of the world. They're not the values of Suella Braverman. They're not the values, clearly, of Robert Jenrick. And I think we need to distance ourselves from these people. We're in the last days of this parliament, and the law, if it goes through, will simply be on paper. I don't think there's even time for it to be enacted. For it to be enacted, the Suella Braverman is going to have to commission concentration camps and detention centres, and I don't think there's time even for that. So this is simply a nod to her brutality, and I don't think we should countenance that.